Lakers Nation, the offseason may have already delivered major changes, but the Los Angeles Lakers are showing no signs of slowing down in just a short period of time. Several new developments have created fresh questions surrounding the roster, and now 5 different storylines are demanding attention. One involves a former Lakers family connection and a very public push to bring Klay Thompson back to Los Angeles. Another centers on a defensive wing who could potentially be acquired at a much lower cost. There is also a complicated 14 proposal involving Christian Braun, a shooting specialist from Milwaukee, who could give Luka Doncic another dangerous weapon, and one under-the-radar forward in Memphis who could provide the Lakers with flexibility instead of another massive long-term commitment. The Lakers have already made significant moves this summer. They added new faces, completed the blockbuster sign and trade for Walker Kessler, secured Austin Reeves with a new contract, and made Luka Doncic the centerpiece of the franchise moving forward. But the front office still appears to be searching for the right combination of size, shooting, defense, and versatility. And that is where these latest developments become especially interesting. Let's start with the most personal story of them all. Klay Thompson's father is once again making it clear that he would love to see his son wearing the purple and gold. Mychal Thompson is not simply a fan watching from the outside. He is a former 2-time NBA champion from the Showtime Lakers era and has spent years as part of the Lakers radio broadcast team. So when a fan recently encouraged him to keep recruiting his son to Los Angeles, Mychal did not avoid the subject. Instead, his response made it clear that bringing Klay to the Lakers would still be something he would love to see happen. That matters because the possibility of Klay leaving Dallas has been discussed. But the situation is far more complicated than simply waiting for the Mavericks to release him. According to reporting from NBA insider Jake Fisher, Dallas has been resistant to the idea of a buyout, partly because the Mavericks understand that both the Lakers and Miami Heat could have interest in Thompson if he becomes available, and that gives Dallas leverage. Thompson is entering the final season of his contract, with approximately $17.4 million remaining. If the Mavericks simply negotiate a buyout and Thompson becomes a free agent, Dallas could lose the player without receiving anything meaningful in return. If they explore a trade instead, however, interested teams would have to send assets or salary back to Dallas. As long as teams such as the Lakers remain interested, there is little reason for the Mavericks to rush into a decision. The history between Klay Thompson and the Lakers makes this situation even more fascinating. During the 2024 offseason, Thompson's free agency reportedly came down to the Lakers and Mavericks. Dallas eventually won the race, and Mychal Thompson publicly expressed disappointment that his son did not end up in Los Angeles. The Lakers were even believed to have offered more money and additional years than Dallas. Thompson ultimately chose the Mavericks, with the opportunity to play alongside Luka Doncic being one of the major attractions. But then everything changed. Dallas eventually sent Doncic to Los Angeles, meaning the very superstar Thompson had chosen Dallas to play with is now the centerpiece of the Lakers. Luka is in Los Angeles, playing at Crypto.com Arena, in the same city where Klay Thompson was born and where his father has been closely connected to the Lakers for decades. From a storyline perspective, it is almost impossible to create a more dramatic connection. But basketball decisions are not made purely on emotion. If Dallas agrees to a buyout, the Lakers would likely have to compete with other interested teams for Thompson's services. A trade would be even more difficult because Los Angeles would need to match a significant portion of Thompson's salary while also finding assets that Dallas would actually value. The Lakers have already used important trade resources in previous moves, which limits their flexibility. That is why the most realistic scenario could involve this situation staying quiet for now and potentially becoming more serious closer to the trade deadline. On the court, Thompson would still offer something the Lakers could use. He remains a respected perimeter shooter and connected for 38.3% from 3 last season. The Lakers need more reliable shooting and another capable wing. At the same time, Thompson is now 36 years old, so he would not solve the team's athleticism concerns. Adding another veteran would also increase the age of a rotation that already contained several experienced players. So while the emotional connection is obvious, Dallas currently controls the situation. The next storyline is much more straightforward from a basketball perspective. The Lakers need defensive help on the wing, and one possible target could be Derrick Jones Jr. Jones has already shown that he can play meaningful minutes on a championship-level team. During Dallas's 2024 postseason run, he started every playoff game and averaged 9.1 points while shooting 37% from three. More importantly, he was regularly assigned difficult defensive responsibilities against high-level perimeter players. That experience could make him attractive to a Lakers team searching for someone who can defend alongside Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves. A potential trade framework involving the Lakers and Los Angeles Clippers has been discussed, with Jaden Hardy and a future second-round pick potentially going back to the Clippers for Jones. The appeal is not necessarily star power, it is affordability. Jones would not carry the enormous long-term commitment attached to some of the other names being discussed. His salary is around $10.4 million for the season, making him much easier to acquire financially and potentially turning him into a short-term rental. That could be exactly what the Lakers need after already committing significant money to several players. Jones would also have an incentive to perform well in Los Angeles because a strong season could position him for another contract the following summer. From the Lakers' perspective, the fit is easy to understand. They need someone capable of defending multiple positions, making open threes, running the floor, and taking some of the defensive pressure away from Doncic and Reeves. Jones has already demonstrated that he can handle those responsibilities in high-pressure situations. For the Clippers, meanwhile, moving him could make sense. If their wing rotation becomes crowded, the team has several players competing for minutes, and that has its own long-term financial plans to consider. Jaden Hardy would also give the Clippers another young guard option while maintaining financial flexibility. This is not the kind of transaction that would dominate the NBA news cycle, but it could be the type of move that quietly improves a contender without forcing the Lakers into another massive financial commitment. Then we get to a much more complicated possibility. Christian Braun could potentially become part of a four-team trade scenario that would send the young Denver Nuggets wing to Los Angeles. Braun is an intriguing name because he already has championship experience and has proven that he can contribute without needing to dominate the ball. That is particularly important next to Luka Doncic. The Lakers do not necessarily need another high-volume scorer. They need players who can defend, move without the ball, make open shots, and complement their superstar. A reported hypothetical framework would involve the Lakers receiving Braun and a future second-round pick, with Denver, Miami, and Detroit also participating. To make the salaries work in this concept, Denver would receive several players and draft assets. Miami would take on Cam Johnson, and Detroit would absorb Jared Vanderbilt as part of the financial balancing. The details make the proposal complicated, but the reason for exploring it is easy to understand. Denver's financial situation is becoming increasingly difficult. Braun signed a significant rookie extension after a breakout season, while the Nuggets already have massive contracts committed to their core. Denver must carefully decide which players fit financially alongside that group. There has also been speculation surrounding Peyton Watson's future contract, creating another potential financial decision for the Nuggets. From the Lakers' perspective, acquiring Braun would represent a significant investment. They would be adding another long-term salary to a roster that already has several new multi-year contracts. Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Walker Kessler, and Braun could form a strong foundation, but the financial consequences would be substantial. The Lakers would likely be pushed toward the luxury, tax and apron restrictions, leaving the front office with less flexibility in future seasons. So the real question is whether Braun's skill set justifies that commitment. His production dropped somewhat following his breakout season, and he also appeared in only 44 games last season. That creates legitimate concerns about both consistency and durability. But if he returns to the level he showed during his best stretch in Denver, his value becomes much easier to understand. He does not need to be the star. He simply needs to be an effective two-way role player around Doncic. That is precisely the type of player championship teams need. Now let's move to another potential addition that would address a completely different need. Luka Doncic can create shots for almost anyone, which means surrounding him with elite shooting should always be a priority. That brings us to Milwaukee Bucks guard AJ Green. A hypothetical trade could send Green and a future second-round pick to Los Angeles, with Dalton Knecht and Jake LaRavia going back to Milwaukee. This is not being presented as a confirmed trade, demand, or a guaranteed front office pursuit. It is a proposal worth examining because the basketball fit is obvious. Green has established himself as one of the league's most efficient perimeter shooters. He shot approximately 42% from three last season and has consistently remained around the 40% range throughout his career. He also averaged a career-high 10.4 points per game last season, while continuing to provide reliable shooting. For a Lakers team built around Doncic's ability to manipulate defenses, that skill has tremendous value. Imagine Doncic drawing two defenders, kicking the ball toward the corner, and finding a shooter who can immediately punish the defense. That is the kind of offensive spacing Los Angeles wants. The Lakers already added several shooters this offseason, including Quentin Grimes and other perimeter threats. But there is always room for another player who can consistently knock down open threes. Green would not need to create offense for himself. He could focus on spacing, moving around screens, and capitalizing on the opportunities created by Doncic. Milwaukee, meanwhile, could have a different reason to consider such a deal. If the Bucks are focused on developing younger players and maintaining flexibility, turning an established shooter into younger assets could make sense. Dalton Knecht and Jake LaRavia would give Milwaukee additional players to evaluate, while Los Angeles would receive a specialist who fits immediately into the team's offensive structure. It may not be the biggest name available, but sometimes the most important addition is the player who solves one specific problem extremely well. And that leads us to perhaps the quietest possibility of the entire group. While the biggest names continue to attract attention, the Lakers could potentially look toward Memphis for a lower-cost forward solution. Jonathan Kuminga and PJ Washington have generated plenty of discussion, but another possibility could be a young Memphis forward such as Taylor Hendricks. On paper, Hendricks does not have the same production level as Kuminga or the postseason experience of Washington. Kuminga has shown more scoring ability, while Washington has already played an important role for a team that reached the NBA Finals. But the Lakers have to consider more than just talent. They also have to consider the financial structure of the roster. Los Angeles has already handed out several multi-year contracts this summer. Adding another expensive long-term deal without knowing how the pieces fit together could create major problems down the road. A player on a shorter contract provides something different: flexibility. Hendricks is entering the final season of his rookie-scale contract, which would essentially give the Lakers an opportunity to evaluate him without immediately committing to 4 additional years. His injury history is obviously a concern, especially after missing almost the entire 2024-25 season, but the short-term nature of the potential commitment could make that risk more manageable. On the court, the appeal would be his defensive versatility and ability to guard multiple positions. He could potentially defend wings on the perimeter, while also using his size against bigger opponents. He has also shown enough shooting ability to prevent defenses from completely ignoring him. His career three-point percentage sits around 35%, comparable to some of the more established forwards being discussed, but without the same long-term financial obligation. Memphis could also have a reason to listen. The Grizzlies have accumulated significant front court and wing depth, creating a potential minutes crunch. If Hendricks is not expected to receive a major role, moving him for another young player and perhaps a future second-round pick could be a reasonable option. For the Lakers, a package involving a young player such as Dalton Knecht or Jake LaRavia could potentially be explored. The appeal is simple. Los Angeles would not be betting the future on another massive contract. Instead, they would be taking a calculated swing on a player with defensive upside and giving themselves the chance to reassess the situation next summer. And that may actually be the bigger story surrounding the Lakers right now. The front office does not necessarily need to make one enormous move. They need to find the right pieces around Luka Doncic. Some options offer experience, others offer shooting. Some provide defensive versatility, while others offer financial flexibility. Klay Thompson represents the emotional possibility, especially given his family's long connection to Los Angeles. Derrick Jones Jr. represents the lower-cost defensive solution. Christian Braun would bring championship experience and two-way potential, but at a much higher financial price. AJ Green would provide elite shooting around one of the NBA's best playmakers. And a younger forward from Memphis could offer the Lakers something they desperately need after a busy offseason: flexibility. The Lakers have already changed the identity of their roster. Luka Doncic is now the centerpiece. Austin Reeves is locked in. Walker Kessler has been added, and several new players are competing for important roles. But the roster is not necessarily finished. The remaining decisions could determine whether these individual pieces actually fit together into a championship-level team. The biggest question is not simply which player has the most talent. It is which player fills the biggest need without creating another problem somewhere else. That is why the next few weeks could be extremely important. A blockbuster deal would obviously change the conversation, but a smaller move could end up being just as valuable if it solves a specific weakness. For now, the Lakers have multiple paths available. They can chase a veteran scorer and shooter like Klay Thompson. They can pursue a proven defender, such as Derrick Jones Jr. They can explore a complicated deal for Christian Braun. They can target pure shooting with AJ Green, or they can take a more conservative approach and look for a young, inexpensive forward with upside. 5 different possibilities, 5 very different approaches, and one franchise trying to build the perfect supporting cast around Luka Doncic. The offseason is far from over, and every new report could change the equation. So as the Lakers continue searching for the final pieces, the biggest question remains: will Los Angeles make another major splash, or will the front office choose the quieter move that gives the team more flexibility? Either way, Lakers Nation will be watching every development. If you want to stay updated on the latest Lakers trade rumors, roster moves, and breaking NBA news, make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on. And now, tell us what you think. Which type of move would make the biggest difference for this Lakers roster? Bringing Klay Thompson home, adding another defensive wing, making a blockbuster move for Christian Braun, surrounding Luka with even more shooting, or taking a low-risk route with a young forward? Let us know in the comments. The Lakers' next move could have a major impact on the entire season, and the story is far from finished. This is Lakers Daily Hub. Stay locked in, stay updated, and as always, go Lakers.